This is a scene from Greta Gerwig's 2019 film, Little Women. It shows Amy in her Paris art studio, meeting up once again with one of her childhood friends, Laurie.
Amy, don't be mad at me. I'm sorry for how I behaved.
Have you been drinking again?
Camera shots are used throughout this clip to illustrate the relationships between the characters and develop the characters themselves. This is especially shown through the use of long, mostly steady shots and close shots. There's a limited perspective. There are medium shots of each character. At first, only wide shots are used to show both characters. Laurie is especially seen further back in the shot, while Amy moves between the fore and middle grounds.
So, I want to be great or nothing, and I will not be some commonplace dauber, and I don't intend to try anymore.
The camera has very little movement, but it uses long, uncut clips to force the viewer to focus on what's happening. This also forces the viewer to focus on the dialogue and the characters, rather than the pacing or action of the scene.
Yes.
Men, I suppose.
Cutting down the competition.
That's a very complicated argument to make me feel better.
Do you, though? Do you feel better?
I do think, male or female, I am of middling talent.
We see Laurie run and jump up onto the stage to pose for a portrait. At first, the scene is shot in wide shots, Laurie in his surroundings, and Amy's entire body as she watches him. However, as the conversation progresses, the camera cuts closer and closer to Laurie. This indicates how Amy is starting to open up to him a little bit more, and how their relationship is settling back into what it used to be. By the end of the conversation, the camera has cut closer to Amy as well. This is shown especially in this layout of the different shots.
But you will be if he goes down properly on one knee?
The medium shots are used throughout the rest of the conversation to show the viewer that it's more of an intimate moment between the two. However, it cuts to a long shot as they hear Fred's carriage pull up outside. The intimacy is broken by the reminder that their relationship isn't what it used to be, however much it feels like they might be able to slip back into it.
It's nothing to be ashamed of, as long as you love him.
Well, I believe we have some power over who we love. It isn't something that just happens to a person.
I think the poets might disagree.
Well, I'm not a poet. I'm just a woman.
There's one tracking shot when Amy discusses marriages. There's a long focus on her that tells the viewer they have to pay attention and that what's being said is important to Amy's character.
Support my family. And if I had my own money, which I don't, that money would belong to my husband the moment we got married. And if we had children, they would be his, not mine. They would be his property. So don't sit there and tell me that marriage isn't an economic proposition, because it is. It may not be for you, but it most certainly is.
But they're torn out of it by the arrival of Fred's carriage. Amy asks Laurie to unbutton her apron.
Right. Can you unbutton me?
And we're given the only close shot of the entire scene. Immediately after, it cuts to a wide shot, showing the separation Amy puts between them. As the clip ends, we watch Amy step further out of the frame,
How do I look? Do I look all right?
You look beautiful.
turning what was once a medium shot into a long shot once more.
You are beautiful.
For now, the distance between them is restored. I find Gerwig chooses and uses her camera shots very effectively across a lot of her films, but this clip in particular is a really good example because every shot has a certain intentionality to it. It communicates something about the characters we're watching, which if you've seen the film or read the story, they end up together eventually at the end, I think. You Google that. Yeah, they get married. That sort of stable camera shot is something Gerwig uses a lot across her films, especially in scenes that are a lot more character-focused and developing the relationships between characters, such as, in this scene here, the relationship between Amy and Laurie. Of course, Gerwig has directed films that are a little bit less character-based, and might tackle bigger issues than specifically these small and messy relationships between characters. Editor's note, I did some research. That is almost completely untrue. 90% of her films are very, very, very character-based, and they are awesome. But regardless, I find she's very effective in her use of camera work and the shots that are being used and how those shots are manipulated to hint to the viewer what's happening and what's changing between characters. Subscribe.